What's up everyone, Sean Count Blaggerth here with a video about how I do my vocals and give you guys tips how to do yours if you want to get into doing extreme metal vocals. First and foremost, I'm going to say this. What I say is what works for me. It may not work for you. So if what I say comes across as wrong compared to what you normally do, then this is what works for me. I don't think there's but one particular way to do this style vocal. It's whatever comes naturally to you and whatever feels good for you to do. Alright, so before you start doing vocals, I have to say this. You will take a chance of hurting your voice. And I've damaged mine a little bit from the early days of me doing vocals back in like maybe 04, maybe even earlier than that, like 2003, when I started screaming and I didn't know what I was doing and I was just screaming my lungs out. That can happen to you, and it's up to you if you want to continue. I would suggest that you stop and learn the proper technique or whatever works for you best. But with that said, it's all something that is no real right or wrong. Before you do vocals, drink. Either drink water, or if you're recording, what's best is a hot cup of tea. What I have here is some blueberry tea. And I don't like it hot because it's hard to drink, but lukewarm is the best. So once when you have something to drink and have your throat wet, pretty much the best way to start off with learning how to do the basic death metal growl, which is pretty much think of how you do a sigh. Just like add more power. So instead of just going like, go and eventually build yourself to the point where you're going, that will help you add power. Just take in a big deep breath and just bellow it out. Just what it should feel like is kind of like when you gargle. Oddly enough, is you get that sort of tingle in the back of your throat when you gargle water. It feels like that. And if it feels like that, you're doing it right. It will hurt a little bit at first, but with that said, that's gonna happen no matter what. Because you are doing something your voice isn't used to. You're doing something that is not normal. So of course it's going to hurt at first. Now if you want to go higher, which I get a lot of questions, is a lot of people can do lows fine, but they have a problem with high vocals, and I'll discuss both. But since one of my most frequently asked questions is how I do my highs, which are relatively easy to do once when you get down the technique. And the technique I use is a, how should I put it? How you would normally increase your voice's pitch by speaking, you do as you push that air out. So you use the same growl technique as a, but instead just try to project it in a higher pitch as you would change the pitch of your voice. So, so just kind of go, instead of like, a good way to practice it maybe is even going from low to high. I just started doing highs. That's how I started doing vocals, because that was what my natural range was. And then I started to learn to get my voice lower. But when it comes to the high vocal, it's just how you normally would adjust the pitch of your voice when you speak. So when you scream, it sounds like, yeah, instead of the sort of thing. It's almost the way I describe it to some people is you scream with a tighter throat instead of a loose throat. loose for low, tight for high. That sounds weird, but that's how it is, for me at least. When I scream high pitch, my throat is tense, it's tightened, and I'm just really pushing. And lows, I'm really pushing as well, but my throat is loose and it's relaxed. And that's how it has to be in order to get that really low sound. Because if it's tight, the air is kind of has less room to go around, which makes it sound tighter, which makes it sound higher pitch. It's kind of the same principle as blowing wind through a hole, like on a flute. The smaller the hole, the higher the pitch. The same principle applies with your voice. And I know all this sounds sexual, and I'm awaiting the comments, so I'm just going to beat you to it. That's what she said, blah, blah, blah. Now, once when you master the high-pitched vocal, you can continue with that and work on variants, which will include tongue placement, like which has almost like a gargle to it. That's by taking your tongue and putting it to the roof of your mouth. A technique that I've just started to pick up on is like the cattle decapitation sort of high, which is where you take your tongue and press it there, and you get more of a, and eventually you can get that higher shriek, which is what I'm working on. So I haven't mastered it yet, but I'm hoping to eventually one day. Now for low, for like gutturals, you have the typical with the loose throat, same technique as the sigh, except for you try to make your throat as loose as possible, just as relaxed as you can, and as relaxed in the neck. You don't want to be extremely tense when you do a low, because then it's not going to really come out right, and you may end up actually more or less trying to shout, which will definitely cause damage to your vocal cords. Because what you do, you usually don't use your vocal cords except for to adjust pitch. When it comes to like the extreme gutturals that I do, that I've been told sound like a clogged toilet, which was pretty much my goal, you take your tongue and you curl it up and put it to the roof of your mouth. And when you do that, it pushes the air against it and it just kind of echoes, sort of, and you get this really low guttural sound like when you get that sound, it will feel a little different. It will actually feel really cool in the back of your throat. It's hard to explain. It's almost like a tickle, but it's just so hard to explain. It's kind of like when you clear your throat is what it feels like. And I kind of like that feeling. Maybe I'm weird, I don't know, but I kind of like that. And if you get that sort of feeling when you let go, that's something that you'll eventually pick up on. If you start to get that feeling, you're doing it right. Or even if you get that sound, it may feel different for people because everyone is different. Now, personally, when it comes to pig squeals, I also get questioned about this. It's the same technique as a low, except for I protrude my jaw a little bit. So instead of just being like, I just kind of push it out a little bit more, so it's a sort of thing. And a good way to practice it is just by saying E, because it will help get that sort of shriek to it, which is something that a lot of people have trouble with. But the more you practice it, the better you'll get. And I'm going to give you guys songs to actually practice to, because I don't want this to just be, this is how I do my vocals, and I've just pretty much explained that. I want to give you guys tips on how to utilize your voice and how to practice it. Now, when it comes to low vocals like that, my favorite song to practice to, and it's only one part of the song that I can do, I probably could do the rest of the song, but it's so insanely sporadic, and that is Cattle Decapitation's The Right Beneath the Rind. This is the song that actually got me into doing guttural vocals, because I heard Travis Ryan's low in the slam part that comes in around, I believe, 25 seconds in the song, and that song really helped me practice my guttural. So once when you get that sort of like tongue placement pushed up to the roof of your mouth and you get the sort of thing. Just practice along with that part. Pull up the lyrics and look at them, and it will help you a lot. That's a very good song to practice to, and I still do that all the time. A great album to practice to also when it comes to utilizing your full range is This Is Exile. This album really, really helps me a lot with my vocals because I practice to Father of Lies, This Is Exile, Eternal Refuge, and I actually put my own vocals to the instrumental track of Legions. That's a very, very good one to practice to. Another great band to practice to, and this is another one that's pretty good for utilizing your full range, except for really gutturals, is Cannibal Corpse and this album, Evisceration Plague. I practice to this one quite a bit, especially with the songs Priest of Sodom, To Decompose. To Decompose actually helps with rapid fire, and I'll talk about that in 1 second. Shatter Their Bones, Evisceration Plague, Skewered from Ear to Eye, Carrion Sculpted Entity. Songs like that really, really will help you with your breathing, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize is it's all about breathing. And when you start to do fast vocals, you gotta be able to keep the power in your voice so it just doesn't sound like Death Clock. And I get this question all the time, what do you think of Death Clock? I don't like them. Reason is, and the only reason, it's not because I don't have a sense of humor. Those of you that know me, I love like funny stuff. For me, it's just I can't tolerate the vocals because they're so whispery, like like that sort of whispery sound I can't tolerate because there's no power in it. The vocals don't have power, I don't like it. And you gotta learn to regulate your breathing. And what I do to kind of regulate that is I do bursts of really fast lines, but I try to keep it so I can get a breath quickly in between some of the words. Like, one song that's actually relatively was kind of hard for me to get at first vocal-wise was actually Evisceration Plague because of how well George pronounces the vocals I wanted to do, and enunciation is something that is very important in my opinion. So people can actually understand what you're saying if you're going to do this as like something in a band. For me personally, I like to pronounce words, but it depends because when you do a guttural, you don't really say the full word. Like a good example would be The Right Beneath the Rhyme by Cattle Decapitation. Like one of the lines is, victim lies begging, but I'm wanting more. Pain is insane, a new anus is torn. When he says that, he's not really saying the full word, he's kind of saying the shape of it. So like, so that's how I do it. At least maybe he's actually saying the word, but to me it sounds like he's saying the shape of the word, which is what I do in my band. But then there's times where I actually like to fully say the word, like how Cannibal Corpse does with like, experimental pathogens the devil's design, the dark side of science brings a weapon of war. That sort of stuff you will get. You just gotta learn to regulate your breathing, which it's different for each person, but for me, I like to try to get a breath in between every other word or so, and it will help a lot. Don't just practice to going like, don't do that, because then you're just going to end up not really understanding how to utilize your voice. And when it's time to put lyrics to something, you're just going to end up doing single syllable, long drawn out screams. Pick songs that you like from death metal bands or black metal bands even. Like a good band for me to practice to is actually Satyricon. I love Satyricon and I love practicing to them. I actually practice to Dimmu Borgir. I do every once in a while to Satanic Warmaster to a couple songs. Carpathian Forest is another really good one to practice to. Just pick songs that you like and go with them. when you get the techniques down. And that will help you build up a sort of an idea of what you should do once when you become a vocalist in a band, if you ever desire to become one. But I guess that's really all I have to say. I'm sorry if you guys didn't really get anything from this, but I thought I'd make this video. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments, leave me a video response or whatever, and I'll try my best to answer them in the comments. If I can't, I'll just make a video. So that's all. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and as always, keep it metal.